you doing, Angie?
I am doing great. There was a huge thunderstorm last night, so that was crazy. But the sun is shining. We're doing our final live stream for the morning, so it's shaping up to be a pretty great day. How are you doing, Nicole?
So good. It was rumbling last night, and I thought I might not get my morning swim in, but I did. It cool, it's actually a really beautiful morning. We've had a great morning, and I really want to say that the team that we're about to introduce is rock star solid, and I'm really excited to actually both the group sixes today. We're gonna have a stellar day. I know it already. So as you may know, we are part of our MC4326. This is our advanced social media and analytics class. And today we are streaming live across 3 platforms. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Twitch, and we are on YouTube. We look forward to seeing our class joining in the chat. And I know that Angie's gonna tell them to get there when
no worries.
Wait a minute. But today's topic is maybe a little bit darker than what we've done before. It's called social media designed to deceive. And I've told the teams that they can go anywhere they want with this: misinformation, disinformation, deep fakes, AI disinformation, kind of anywhere they want to go. But Angie, I'm curious what you think about this topic. And do you think it's an important topic for us to be covering?
Absolutely. I mean, social media has kind of a stigma around it. Everyone knows, not to trust what you see on the internet. That's kind of been the phrase since it's been around. So I think this is a very important topic to cover, not just to spread awareness, but also to maybe, get a fully rounded, I guess, insight on the matter. And then hopefully maybe some potential solutions so that you can, peruse social media in a safer manner. You kind of have to know the beast you're dealing with before you can conquer it. And I think this is such a great concept to, end with a bang with. And these are great groups to tackle these matters. Again, I'm so excited to see what this rockstar team has to show us today.
You have to know the beast. I like that a lot. But what happens when the beast is always changing? I mean, one thing I've been noticing as I've been having these conversations throughout the semester is it's getting harder to actually figure this stuff out. And that isn't just the students saying that. That's me. I'm like looking at things. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's just not. Are you finding that same struggle?
I completely agree. It's just getting harder and harder to tell what's AI and what's a deep fake. I remember it used to be so simple. There's like the tricks with the hands and the eyes, and sometimes it just looks uncanny valley. But these days I look at a video and I'm like, is this fake? I can't tell.
I can't tell. What is it? I don't know. Well, thank you, Angie. And as you just saw, I'm bringing our wonderful team up to the floor here. And I just want to introduce Team 6, who's been working very hard on their social media show. They are going to be covering, as I mentioned, social media designed to deceive. We have here Elise, Jerry, Kaylani, Juan, Ethan, and Aiden. Welcome to the floor. We are excited to have you. How are you doing this morning? That's not the reception I was looking for.
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Just give us like 5 seconds to talk.
We're doing good.
The morning is great. It's sun shining. Let's get this going.
Let's do it. Well, I'm going to pass the floor over to Kaylani, and we are so excited to watch your show.
Good morning to all, and thank you for tuning in to our show this morning. This is Group 6, and we have so much to unravel this morning on this social media show on how social media is designed to deceive. Today, we chose 2 articles to talk about, which are misinformation on Instagram from Elise, Aiden, and Juan. And then the second article is navigating the maze through a deep fake with cognitive ability, social media, and new skeptums from myself, Ethan, and Jerry. But before we jump into anything, a question that I want to leave in the chat is, where is the main source you get your news from and why? And then I'm going to throw it off to Aiden to start with the first article.
But before we do that, I want to know your answers. So I think it's really important that we ask this question, but where do you get your news?
I would say definitely social media if I'm not like watching the TV.
Mm-hmm. Social media. My bad.
No, that was fine. I'm not a big TV watcher anymore, so I definitely get most of mine from social media. It's just less time consuming than other platforms.
Yeah, I get mine from social media as well. Like I don't really use the TV as much. And with the weird thing is, it's like I don't usually like scroll and find it. Sometimes it just comes around, I guess.
For
Yeah, I
me,
Yeah,
use
I'd have to say the same thing. I get all my information from social media, but you really just gotta take everything with a grain of salt, it seems.
Tell me more about that. So you're all saying you get your news from social media. Like that's your primary news source. Are you getting them from news outlets on social media or are you getting them because that's what's circulating? Kaylani?
I feel like a little bit of both, like whatever's like circulating on the internet or like social media. And then like I think the only two like news like I follow on social media will probably be like LA Times or something like that. And then like just People magazine to keep up with like celebrity gossip.
That's important. What platforms are you primarily going to for your news?
I'm mainly like on Instagram and then like TikTok, like here and there, like just to double fact, like check too. So
I usually use Facebook because I usually use more than anything else. Because Facebook is for me. I grew up with Facebook, so it's easier for me to manage it. TikTok is like for youngsters and Instagram too. So. Yeah, I say youngsters.
I definitely feel like for me, I get a lot of my news from social media, and unfortunately, like I don't check it as much as I should, or like second check it as much as I should. But with not watching TV, definitely like places like Twitter or X now. Twitter and TikTok is where you like see things first rather than seeing on the news shows or TV shows like that.
I definitely get a lot of my news from like Instagram and Blue Sky, but sometimes maybe it's like reposted from a friend or something on my Discord friend groups.
Hey, Aiden, you're using Blue Sky. What are your thoughts on how the news is circulating on there? Because that's a newer-ish platform, very similar to what we would have seen with the early days of Twitter and what Threads is trying to do, but maybe not as successfully. How's your reception of the news on there? Because I always found like early Twitter was where I wanted to go for news because it was actually fairly reliable and it was coming in on time and things like that. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think Blue Sky only works as a news platform if like you choose to like set it up that way. Because when you make your account, you can like essentially like choose what you want to see. For instance, I mostly like looked a lot about like art or gaming topics or whatnot, but I didn't really choose news, so I don't get as much news on the platform as like say anyone else. But I do follow some some independent news commentators or just like maybe my friends repost it or something.
Thank you for sharing. How about you, Angie?
I feel like kind of what everyone's already saying, like social media, if it's circulating, it has to be like for a reason, it's like some sort of grain of truth. So I'll see the news, but I always, go to Google to double check it. That's social media is kind of like my starting point. And then from there, I spiral into news outlets, websites, apps, and then, TVs. But it's just social media is so fast. It like as soon as something happens, it's out there. And so it's a pretty good, like a pretty good, I guess, pool to have access to.
Yeah, like Angie said, it's fast because everybody just posts it every second. Everybody record it and put it straight to social media. So Angie do got a point that it's real fast, and you can get it in a second. Everybody posts it every 5 seconds.
What's the danger of getting our news almost exclusively from social media as the primary starting point?
Sorry, we go first.
As like we're gonna get into in our article, it's just I feel like it's believing of like everything's true or not. And I mean, we kind of got into this on class on Monday, where it's like if someone's posting it, like it's just if the source is reliable or not. And just like we were talking about it last night, if more people are just like posting stuff on the internet to get like views or stuff. So I feel like it balances back and forth.
Thank you, Aiden.
Probably a lot of bias. Like, let's be real. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. All right. So, but yeah, no, I would say like definitely a lot of bias. Like, let's be real. The person who's I feel like a lot of people are gonna give their thoughts on the specific thing that's happening, and it's very possible that it could be like maybe very different from each platform, or maybe like specific commentators might have something different to say. So, like the consensus on like certain topics are rarely ever the same.
I completely agree. I think that's a very, very good point, especially because social media, one of the reasons that I believe it's so fast is because unlike news outlets that have to, fact check, actually write a story, compile a whole, I guess, comprehensive review of things, in social media, you can just kind of post, like, oh my gosh, the Pope died. And then someone else sees that and they're like, what? And then it just keeps going. There's less, I guess, work that needs to go into a social media post that can spread news. And so from there, you kind of have, disinformation, well, misinformation most of the time, if it's something that's really quickly spread. And then also because they don't have the constraints and I guess responsibilities of reporters, they can also put their own spin to it or, dramatize events. I remember when Liam Payne from One Direction died, there was so many people, like when I was checking the news, it was him, people saying he died, and then also speculating why. I think I saw 3 different reasons why based on how people, perceived Liam Payne and his whole celebrity life.
Thank you. I saw everyone nodding their heads in agreement. We all remember that. Kaylani, can I ask you to go back to the comments and you pick whichever ones you want to read, and then we'll move it along however you want.
Kylie Moore said definitely social media. Lisette Aguilar, she said, I get most of my news from social media, but I am cautious to make sure the profile is reliable before I believe it. That's very true. And then Bailey said, I get my news from social media, but as Lisette said, I always check my source to make sure the information is accurate.
I guess this leads to the question of like, does everyone do this? Like, you're all university students, you're critical thinkers, you are, arguably more well-rounded and knowledgeable than the average person. So how do we deal with that? I gave the story about, Angie, you weren't there, but on Monday I gave the story about how my mother just uses Facebook as her news source. And the things she shares, I'm like, oh no, we need to have a chat. So how do we deal with the people who maybe aren't checking their sources, or how do we encourage people to check their sources?
I just feel like it's a standard with social media because, like, ever since I was little, like, I've always heard on the internet, like, not everything you see or hear is, like, true. So just growing up like that and then just, like, researching anything, I don't know, like, as Angie was mentioning, like, Liam Payne's death, like, I remember I was at work and I was like, this is so fake. Like, this is fake right now. And then I had, like, 3 friends call me and they're like, Liam died, like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, he didn't. And so then, of course, like, I went and I searched and it was just sad. But I don't know. I always feel like it's just a standard to, like, double check everything.
I'd say that okay. I'd say I'd say the best thing to do is just educate anyone who's like misinformed, or just not aware of like what's happening. It's just a good way to like keep track of the news, even when someone is not actively checking them. And I also think it's important to check the source just to make sure that what's being said is actually credible.
Definitely. Going off of what Kalani said, I feel like our age right now is just a bunch of instant gratification. So we're not always checking we're not always checking every other source. We're checking the first source, and then we're gonna read the comments and be like, oh, is this true? How many people agree with this? How many people agree with that? So I feel like if we want stuff like this to get better and we want to be able to trust media sources more, we're gonna, as a whole, we all have to slow down and look at what we're reading and actually take it in, rather than being rather than going on TikTok and scrolling like, oh my gosh, so and so died, and then believing it and then going on through our day, and then like a week later, so and so actually wasn't dead, or so and so actually didn't do that.
I have
Especially
another
like,
question, but sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
uh, uh, especially like, because this is what I'm going to talk a little bit later about politics. Like, you know how people use social media, especially like, you know, when politics come in and everybody says that everybody make up stories about the next presidential and all that. So I feel like people should like honestly go back and research stuff before they post anything, because people can take that really serious, and you know, like stuff like that, you know. So I believe that people should do research before they can post anything that can hurt the society or can hurt other people.
One concern I have with that, though, is that the machines are set up to support it, right? Like they're set up to amplify that sensationalism. It's an attention machine, as we've been talking about, and it doesn't matter what the attention is. It's whatever catches the attention that's going to get the traction. And so I think that herein lies the problem. It's like, yes, we should, and that should be the way it's done, but is that what's happening? I'm not sure where we go next in the show, but I do want to start moving us in that direction, because I realize I've derailed you a little bit. I really enjoyed this chat.
Aiden's gonna start digesting Article 1.
Can you remind us what that one is again? Is that this one?
The
right?
misinformation on Instagram.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Kalani. So what this article is about is an online experiment was basically conducted to determine if a post's popularity by likes, or if like a trusted celebrity endorsing the post, had an impact on whether people perceive the post to be more credible. So basically, in the study, participants were shown these fabricated Instagram posts. Then the participants were asked to like rate how believable, accurate, and authentic the Instagram content they saw in the study was on a 7-point Likert scale, with 1 being very unbelievable and 7 being very believable. Then the responses were combined into one variable named message credibility, which they then use a t-test with message credibility as the dependent variable in the study, while the 2 independent samples were trusted endorsements and a bandwagon queue. Basically, they found these results. The study reveals that endorsements from trusted personalities actually significantly enhance the perceived credibility of posts, even when they may contain misinformation. Participants rated messages endorsed by figures like Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, or Ellen DeGeneres as more credible, indicating that the source of an endorsement is often prioritized over the content's popularity. What the research did find, though, is that the number of likes a post receives does not really influence its perceived trustworthiness, which may suggest that users may view likes as potentially inflated or fake, or they may prioritize the content source rather than its popularity. This reliance on trusted endorsements emphasizes the impact these figures have on shaping public perception, as misleading content can still gain traction when supported by reputable individuals. Public figures and influencers carry a substantial responsibility. Their endorsements can amplify misinformation. These findings pretty much conclude that social media platforms should implement strategies to adjust the influence of such endorsements on the spread of false information. So my question would be, what figures like you that you know of that are people who seem trusted or once were trusted but have posted misinformation? I'll write that out in the chat in a second.
Thank you. Angie, any initial thoughts?
I must admit, like, none really come to mind at the very, very moment. Although I do know that definitely some exist. I remember with the Kobe helicopter, like, huge scandal was the news. Not even, well, the death was very tragic. But the biggest thing that came from that was how news outlets aren't that reliable. It was like maybe 2 days of every single news outlet coming out with different information regarding who was dead, who was alive, and what even happened. TMZ is a news outlet, although I think it's come to the point where we all collectively agree it's not a reliable source of news. But it was extremely evident in that case. It was the first one that came out with false information on Kobe's death. So
I can think of so many examples, but I don't want to say them live on air.
drop them all.
Juan, do you want to jump in?
We'll definitely get into it more throughout the show, but yeah, the Kobe thing was really sad, and then you have other stuff like dealing with Kanye, and then we have stuff with Taylor Swift as well that you really don't want to see, but it happened. So
going off like Ellen DeGeneres, we were kind of talking about this during our research process. Like, I know when her show like got canceled, or like whenever it ended, like this whole like spill happened, and she started spreading misinformation, and people didn't know what to believe. So I feel like that was a big one too, especially because she had so many followers and viewers like tune into her show every time. So that was definitely hard to see.
Yeah, this study was actually made back in like 2020, or at least like I think it was probably conducted like a little bit before then, because the article was made in 2020. But considering like the events that happened with Ellen DeGeneres, I don't think very many people would view her as like a trustworthy source now. So there's some information in this article that I feel is a little bit outdated.
I have some questions for your team. One is, and we've talked about this throughout the semester, but this idea of, just based on what Aiden was saying, how the likes did not contribute to whether or not they believed the post or whatever, like that, the figure was more important than the likes. So are likes A, performative? B, do likes beget more likes? And C, how does this sort of like kernel of truth factor into potentially more harmful, larger societal issues when someone is posting something that has a kernel of truth to it, but maybe is presenting bigger and larger harms? I'm thinking specifically about some of these like wellness and health conversations that we had on Monday, but go in any direction. Yeah, Jerry?
I believe that people just want to like, it doesn't matter how bad it is. People just want to like to get more population and more shows, so everybody can know. Doesn't matter if it's bad or good. People still want likes. Like, that's what I believe. Maybe I'll be wrong, or that's what I believe.
With having that kernel of truth, I think it makes the lie more harmful because it's more believable. If you have some truth to your lie, more people are going to believe it because it seems like it can be justified in some way. And I think you're actually, like, on some psychological level, I feel like you are compelled to like things when you see that they already have a lot of likes. And I feel like I'm actually avoidant to like things that have a small amount, which is really weird. But yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I feel like a lot of it is all for newsworthiness, because usually these fakes are, they're outlandish in a way, and they'll make many people react, and, hence driving to make them viral.
I think,
but like Elise was saying, sorry. But like she was saying, with that grain of truth, it just makes it all that much more believable.
I definitely agree with Elise. Seeing like something on Instagram, for example, seeing something with like 1 million likes, and then it also being from someone like Taylor Swift, or I don't really know anybody else as an influencer, but seeing like 1 million likes from that, you were automatically thinking, oh, this is true. This is what it is, rather than actually reading what happened or going along with what everybody else is saying. And then going to Aiden.
Yeah, I think like it really depends on the context whether or not like something with more likes would be like more trusted by people, because like I mean it's possible that something like has a lot of likes but maybe people in the comments are like actively speaking out against it. Then again, I mean they could also just disable the comments function, so that might not always be super reliable. And the same goes with like YouTube, when like which is actually why like they removed, as they essentially like hid the dislike counter, so now it's like harder to tell like what people's reactions are to it, especially if you can't read the comments.
Another thing I would have to say is that even how do I say this? So even when we do see a bunch of likes on a post, Instagram post, TikTok, whatever, at the same time we do have to think that just because it has a lot of likes doesn't mean it's good. Some people, or what we talked about in class about hate liking, there's a lot of people out in the world who may not like Kanye West, or who may not like Beyonce, who I was just saying. So it's just like if they were spreading true information or semi-true information, and then that was also getting shared by people who hate them on top of people who also like them, that's creating a bigger area for people to learn from and people to grab something from, rather than it actually being the truth.
There's a comment that I really like that just got put up. It's by Annalise. She was responding to our past question about figures that have been trusted that have spread misinformation. I actually think this case is disinformation, because Kylie Jenner claimed her lip kits will give you plumper lips, but that's not really something you can achieve without lip plumper like her. She like specifically said it would give you her lips. So I think that's really interesting, because it was
She's definitely not injecting her lips at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like a scam product a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe asterisk.
Yeah.
Another comment from Whitney, and I feel like Jerry's gonna get into this later. She said, I can't think of anyone specifically, but I feel like it happens with a lot of political based influencers. I feel like this is very true. Like this season of politics and just everything goes crazy, and it's definitely, Jerry has a lot to say later about this. So
just watching your body react is hilarious, Jerry.
Oh yes, I definitely agree with you, Whitney.
Now, not because I really, really love politics, so this is something that I'm really gonna go deep inside.
I actually did learn about this in a previous class I took, and basically what it said was like there was a difference between misinformation and disinformation, rather than it just being harmful. Like basically what it said was that misinformation would be like if you posted information that's not true, but you didn't really know that. Whereas disinformation would be something that you post it knowing that it's false, when like, and you're doing so like intentionally to cause harm. Yeah. Also, I probably should mention that on the comments, Ariana's comment. Can I highlight? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I remember a bunch of celebrities got on the internet and started telling everyone COVID was fake and giving a bunch of false information. Yeah, no, that's definitely like something I could believe like happened, because I think there was also like the whole because like a little bit after this there was the whole like anti-vax thing, like saying how like saying just a lot of things about like the vaccines. Like the most outrageous, like to me from what I heard, was like that like the idea that vaccines cause autism or something.
Wasn't Trump one of the celebrities that did this with COVID?
Yeah, he was. He said that he was like, if you drink bleach, it'll go away. And then everybody was like, yeah, that's not correct. Like, I don't know why he thought it was okay to say it
His
because
was Lysol. The example in class on Monday was give your autistic children bleach. Like these
yeah,
are but in the same category of
yeah,
insane, right? I'm sorry, keep going.
yeah. So it's like, how you gonna tell people and like go back with the politics? Like, a lot of people believe and a lot of people put in social media, yeah, you should drink bleach, and it's like, no, you shouldn't because it can kill you.
It should
Like, what y'all thinking about? Why you gonna tell a million people that support you or believe in you that yes, it's okay to drink bleach? And a lot of people like got so mad at it and was like, Trump, what are you? I'm trying to don't cuss, but like, what are you thinking? Are you an idiot to come out and say that?
I think, and this goes back to, if we're going to continue with Trump, it continues with how dangerous a little bit of a kernel of truth is. Like you said earlier, Lise, I remember when he got COVID, and then afterwards he came back out, and then he was like, okay, the truth, I just, got COVID. And then he said that he's immune. And then while you do get some resistance when you get sick the first time, you're not completely immune for life. That is not a very good fact to be spreading. So, yeah, there's definitely some abuses of power, and especially something that you need to keep in mind when people spread information. I remember Elon Musk as well, when he got Twitter, he got rid of community notes because he kept getting fact check. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I
Oh, yeah.
shall leave
So
you guys
much
to keep
to say.
moving on. There's
No,
so
I don't
many
think we should
examples.
move on at all. So one, I think it's really interesting what you're saying about this like fact checking. So we have the community notes and fact checking, and we know that Meta has made a massive move towards this sort of direction. And I'm curious, and we spoke a great deal about this in the first module of the course. I'm curious, one, what your team thinks about this, and if it's actually helping to change misinformation in the social media landscape. And number two, how do we check these kind of very powerful figures who tell us one thing that may in fact not be true?
I want to bounce off what Angie said. I don't know. I haven't been on Twitter in a minute, but they used to have like, it was like a fact checking. Anything that you would say, it would automatically have like I think it would be like an AI bot or something. It'd say like fact checking, this is not true, da 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 da. And then there was like a bunch of Elon Musk tweets that every single thing he said had a fact checking notification under it, and then he removed it for a while. But yes, I think it's definitely important that we do see who we are looking at and what they say, rather than just believing everything on Twitter. And we have to fact check, not just Twitter, but we have to fact check things on our own. And I think that second effort is more of people who want to learn rather than who are just seeking instant gratification.
I also feel like the whole like vaccination thing, like whenever COVID was around, everybody was definitely scared to get it because then they had like the regular one and then they had the booster. And I mean, like going back to like your health, like putting anything into your body, like, and then the CDC was getting all these numbers. But then I just remember like on social media, everybody was like, okay, well, this person was like, I passed out after I had my shot, or like they've had like reactions and all that. So I guess like Elise said, just taking everything with a grain of salt, like it's just, I don't know, it's crazy.
I do want to add, like, this may not be as important, but I would add, I wouldn't say passed out, but I was like very lightheaded after my shot when I got my COVID shot. But I don't think that was due to like anything bad, because I'm still here.
We all have different reactions to things, right? And so I think that's definitely an important part of this. I don't know if we've done Whitney's comment. No, maybe we do that. Someone can read it.
The vaccination conversation is a very good example of misinformation because we aren't completely sure what causes autism. I 100% agree. Like, there's just so many effects and all of that. So, like, The fact that you would give it to somebody with autism, it's just like, again, how Juan we were just saying, how they would react to it. Like, people react to different things differently.
I think it's good to be cautious, but in that sense, I still think vaccines as like as a medicine is just preventative, and so it's not, you don't have to get it, but I do think it's a good thing to consider.
One thing that I think is interesting is that social media doesn't necessarily affirm science as much as people's opinions and beliefs. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Could you ask that one more time? Sorry.
One thing I have observed is that social media doesn't necessarily affirm science, but it affirms more people's beliefs and opinions. Would you agree or disagree?
I would agree. I feel like it goes in with what you just said with instant gratification. You know, a lot of people don't even really care to fact check what they see. You know, they'll see a video of whatever and, you know, they'll just keep going. And, you know, especially if it's it's viral, they'll more page or more posts like that will be circulating in their feed. And I don't know, I just think a lot of people nowadays don't really care to fact check.
Aiden, Elise, then Juan.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, like, it's pretty much like confirmation bias, because like, well, people are like basically seeing what they want to see, and like I think what they scroll on social media basically sort of reinforces that whole like idea.
I think it depends all on your feed. Like, some people don't even get anything that's science-based or political. It's just entertainment. So, it depends. It really depends, but I do think it is geared towards your own bias because it's your For You page and it's for you. Otherwise, it's like rage bait, which people still watch, but I think usually people like to watch things that agree with them because they like to be right.
Yeah, a lot of people do like to be right, and it's very sad, unfortunately, and how it makes everything else wrong in a sense, or makes us believe other things a little bit less. And this does take me into my what I was going to say, my next point, with an example. Since we're on COVID right now, in July 2020, Kanye, he was interviewed on a Forbes interview. He was interviewed about the COVID vaccines, and he called them the mark of the beast. And he was just basically explaining in the interview that all the vaccines, any company that you heard of, all of them had little implants, and that any vaccine that you got, you would get like a microchip in your neck, or like they would track you. And it's just like, this was really, really, really early COVID. So on top of multiple people like passing and then not taking the vaccines, and then a bunch of people also feeling like vaccines weren't doing anything, and then you still had scientists still figuring out what vaccines were doing what, and then you then have Kanye coming in with like I don't know how many people he had followed, but like we're gonna go with like 2 million people. 2 million people following Kanye believe like now every vaccine you get implanted with a microchip. And the world we live in now, being privacy is a lot. So with microchips, you don't really want a microchip in your body. So going from that, Kanye really didn't help the vaccine spread. He was basing it off of what Kanye thought in that morning or whatever. And so another question I have for the audience is what opinions have you seen over Kanye, which has made you like very question reality?
Wait, can I mention something right here? I like Whitney's comment. She said, but honestly, if you're choosing to believe Kanye over scientists and doctors, I think you have a bigger issue taking place. I agree, Whitney. I think we were talking about this last night. Kanye or Ethan had presented the question of Kanye, like, how do we feel about him and his like reactions and everything. I mean, he's been canceled twice. So I feel like that definitely has to do something with him, like, and people believing him. But I agree with me.
I believe that a lot of he said is just nonsense. So I believe that we shouldn't. I should listen to him at all because it's like
I
why
love that.
like
It's nonsense. Listen to Jerry. Jerry has it. He's filtered right through. That's the answer. It's nonsense. Continue.
yeah, so like how you gonna believe someone like that? And every time they say that he got mental issues or you and all that, like why you gonna believe someone that really don't got no common sense?
And I feel too, like what's scaring me too is I literally saw the surface on the internet that he's having like an album come out called World War III. So I'm just like first of all, why would we even like title an album that? Like, and what can be on it? It's just it doesn't make sense to me.
Um, oh,
I would just say like more content, more Kanye related content bouncing off of that. From the World War III album, he's also been very like open about his I don't know how to put this, and I don't know the right word, but everything like Nazi related, he's been very open about it and openly agreeing with it. So on top of the World War III album, him being like, you know, and then his mass following, none of it's really any good for the world.
I was gonna read Whitney's comment to say the World War III album plus the anti-Semitism he's known for is not a very good combination. Everything Kanye makes me question what he does. I mean, he's outright supporting Nazi culture and just constantly spews nonsense on Twitter. It's honestly sad. I completely agree, Whitney.
Everyone knows what he did during the Super Bowl, right? Like, no, you don't.
can you remind me?
Yeah,
Which
I don't
one?
follow Kanye.
No, can we Google it instead of me saying it out loud? No, he ran an ad for Yeezy, but the only product he was selling was an anti-Semitic shirt. So, like, when we talk about this, I think the character is there. Like, he has exposed his character to all of us. So, I think it's really interesting. But would any of you believe anything he says at this point, knowing the character that he's already presented? Juan, sorry, Jerry. Whoever wants to go.
Okay.
No, I won't.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead,
No,
go ahead.
yeah, no, I don't believe, like I said earlier, like everything they say is just nonsense and it's just full of that he got no common sense. So why, like, I'd rather do my research and then listen to him that just making no sense and making dumb and stupid allegation that's not true and supporting like how you gonna support the Nazis and all that? Like, bro, you know what you know what happened back then with the Hitler and all that? Like, we're not trying to bring that back, but it seems like he want to bring that back. I'm like, no, keep that to the past.
It's actually insane because he himself is a minority, and I don't know, the Nazis wouldn't like him either. So it's really crazy. And he's very hateful, which means he has very strong biases, and he tries to use, or maybe not he himself tries to use, but maybe his audience uses his mental health as an excuse, which doesn't really excuse at all because it has nothing to do with his
White
crazy
supremacy. Like, I don't think mental health equates to white supremacy, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the line. It's like there's no logical correlation here.
Yeah, no, it doesn't excuse racism. at
No.
all.
And Ariana's comment just surfaced. It says a lot of people believe Kanye because they believe that fame and power equals knowledge, and that diehard stans probably don't think Kanye will ever lie to them. I agree with that. Like, I just feel like there's fans that are so like diehard Kanye, this and this, and like he can't do nothing wrong in this world, which it doesn't equal up to what he has to back
Yeah,
up
I do want
and
to.
what he supports.
I'm
I do-
hoping we can read through these comments because we're getting some really good ones here.
I do agree with you because it's like with Ms. Nicole said about his character. We all know Kanye is very controversial. So at the same side, for him to be able to stay controversial and for him to stay famous, he has to do all these. He thinks he has to do all these things rather than just sit down and make music. So
Maybe, but who did you come out of the Super Bowl supporting? Were you still supporting Kanye or were you supporting Kendrick Lamar? Right? Like, I think we can still be controversial and be on people's lips. Jamie says Kanye has some points that do make sense, but his way of expressing those points are way crazy. Yeah, I would agree with that. He had a good point for how the industry pushes and hides people's crimes and controversies based off of their social status. For instance, someone like Playboy Cardi has done really bad things, but the public doesn't really focus on that because it makes it good music and is current. Meanwhile, someone who isn't on the mainstream and gets in controversy, that stuff gets pushed out further and further. Jerry, you're nodding.
Yeah, like people rather like if you got I believe, and this is my belief, I believe power and money influence a lot. Like doesn't you can do the worst thing, but people if you got people that support you, especially influencers, you hear that all the time. Influencers do negative things, but people support them because their power, their population. So yeah, like like how we said, like he he won't know. He got mental issues, but people still believe him because he got money. And everybody wanted money. Everybody wanted power.
And Jamie, and the comment just got cut off. So he says, but the way we went about it was horrible. And Lizette says, I think the public is losing trust. And I think that's exactly the point. And it comes down to this: what do we trust? Who do we trust? What can we trust? I don't know where you're going next, but we should probably continue the show.
Yeah. I mean, I know we talked about Kanye for like a while, but I'm pretty sure Elise has something to say regarding the article, so I'm gonna pass it off to her.
Yay! Hey guys. So I want to start off with a question. What have you seen online that's unbelievable, and did you keep scrolling after seeing it? Okay, so let's dive in to why that happens and why it's becoming more and more dangerous. First off, the purpose of social media is for entertainment, connection, content creation, consumption, and reactions. It's not originally designed for research, fact checking, and deep thinking. Scrolling is typically treated as casual, and most social medias just have you scroll, liking, and then maybe a comment or two. It's not meant for a lot of effort, and therefore most people don't verify the information that they're getting on social media. This makes it the perfect place for misinformation to spread. One of the main reasons that misinformation is doing really well spreading through Instagram is because Instagram is mostly based on visuals, not on their captions. Posts can look authentic and not have real facts embedded in them at all. In addition to that, you cannot link outside websites into Instagram, and so you can't verify the information that they're giving you. And that makes people take the content face value. And all that really means is that it sounds believable, the comments agree with what's being said, and a familiar person or maybe a person of authority has shared it or reposted it. As we said before, in our article, Misinformation on Instagram, misinformation is getting harder to spot. And it's really hard to spot when a celebrity endorses the post. Because these endorsements make the post feel more truthful, even if the information being said is false. Now, I want you to consider if you think the influencers that are reposting or making these posts should have to fact check what they interact with or promote. The core problems with misinformation on Instagram is, or like specifically social media, is that information spreads really fast on social medias, especially because literally anybody can post it. It doesn't have to be authenticated. It's hard to confirm, and creators know this, so they know how to manipulate their followers and the algorithm to boost engagement. Some of the main reasons that users don't verify information is because it means adding that extra effort in and leaving the app, finding a credible source, checking through multiple sources, and you have to read the articles, obviously, to like go through them and make sure what they're saying is true. People would prefer to use their instincts or take their best educated guess rather than actually go outside and do the research themselves. With AI, it's now becoming easier to spread disinformation and misinformation because you're able to create fake photos, videos, and even audios that sound real. And it's making it harder for us to trust our eyes, because usually we can depend on ourselves to recognize real photographs and videos, even if we think the language is off. This means that we need to become more skeptical and intentional with the content that we consume. Make sure that we're researching, checking with multiple sources after we've seen something on our feed, and questioning where this content's coming from and can you trust it. That's it, guys.
An example I had, Evan brought up earlier in the chat, like about sports and checking information. When the Final Four was happening for the men's and women's this past month, first of all, it was April Fool's, but mind you, I didn't know it was like April Fool's until I was like putting my head down and scrolling. But one of the coaches from UConn, I saw like the breaking news, like blah, blah, blah has retired. And I was like having a moment, and I was like, there's no way that he retired, like blah, 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 blah. And so like literally went straight to Google, ESPN, and I was like, y'all, it's April Fool's. So definitely that for sure. And then I agree with Lisette. She said, most likely I keep scrolling to see how other people are reacting to unbelievable posts. That's 100% true. Because like, I feel like when someone posts something, like, okay, I definitely go to the comments first to see what everyone's reactions are. No, Elise, if you want to keep reading comments.
Let's see. I'll see clips of some bad acted reality show scenes, but for some reason I keep watching them. It's like when you know something is fake, but you keep watching it anyways. I don't know why. Yeah, I think things that are fake can be definitely more interesting than reality, and I think reality shows know that, and they use that to curate scenes that would be just really dramatic overall, which is probably why we keep watching it. I don't know. I think they're designed to be eye-catching and really crazy, even if they're obviously not real. And I think that's what grabs our attention. What else? I think
I'm not familiar with this, but I'm gonna have to go Google it later. what Ariana is saying. I don't know this, Jussie Smollett. Do you know this?
no.
No, me neither. But interesting example. Thank you for that. Oh, sorry. I should not have clicked on that one. I meant to click on this one. Sometimes Twitch just comes with crazy comments. And then years later, both of whom faked kidnapping and assault. Well, that's pretty serious. Yeah. Okay, who goes next in your show? Where do we go next?
I did have a comment on
Okay.
with the Twitch. Most Twitch streamers are like most streamers in general. I feel like they have well, the ones I'm thinking of is just Kai Cenat for one. He's a really big Twitch streamer right now, so most of his things are like most of the things he does, he goes outside and do. So a lot of that stuff, even though it's streamed, it's been like a week before he actually a week after he actually did it. And so I feel like even though when we look at things and we think of like instant gratification, it's like, oh, this happened right now, or da 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 da. We still have to remember that not everything that we see is true. And like, for example, like he has streamed before and it's been like a week later and people have like freaked out over it. I don't understand people freaking out over another person streaming in their life, but that is something that we do have to watch out for. And it's not just related to Twitch either. It can be related to news. Like there was a story, not a story, going back to the Kobe thing. It took like 2 days or a week to see who actually died. And that's just like, we have to take our time to realize what we're doing. And that was it.
I heard that his wife actually found out about his death through the news, which is really unfortunate. But I think it's because they were so eager to push it out there that they weren't really, again, fact checking or like checking if anybody had the correct information about it and making sure the wife was made aware.
I think
But
that's what got me the most about that situation, because I knew that the wife was getting her news through the news. So imagine getting conflicting reports like, oh, your husband's dead, your husband and your daughter, just your husband. I get that must have been so traumatic for her, and I completely understand the rage she went into right after.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this also involves like a bunch of deep fakes as well. And we're going to transition into Kalani to speak about that.
So like you might be thinking what the true definition of a deepfake is. A deepfake is a synthetic media created using artificial intelligence, specifically deep learning techniques, to manipulate or generate audio, images, videos that appear real but are fake. In this second article, this study explores how people react to deepfakes, highly realistic AI-generated fake videos, and how these reactions are linked to their cognitive abilities, exposure to social media, and news skepticism. So throughout this article, the research focuses on how the concerns of deepfakes influence towards social media news, and then the role of cognitive ability and how people judge their trustworthiness of content during this, and then how accidentally sharing deepfakes affects skeptics, especially with those with lower cognitive skills. And then I'm gonna pass it off to Ethan, where he's gonna go deeper into this.
Yeah, so one of the key takeaways from the second article, Navigating the Maze, is the impact and trust in news on social media. While exposure in deepfakes generally decreases on social media news as well, those who already rely on these platforms continue to trust social media despite being aware of its growing unreliability. So in this case, social media ends up creating both more doubt and for people who are more cognitive, and more trust for the people who are just casually looking. And so as we know, social media has evolved from a platform for socializing to more of a platform where people gather their news, which has also made us increasingly more vulnerable to fake news. What makes deepfakes dangerous, though, is that they not only just spread fake stories, but they also make it hard to distinguish fact from fiction. So the article then goes in to a concept called the liar's dividend. And the idea of this is that fakes, they don't just trick people, but they also are used to cast doubt on real, legitimate evidence. So take this short example. So imagine a political leader goes missing and video footage surfaces, but then a deepfake video later comes out of a military spokesman who claims that the video footage of the president was a deepfake. And just like that, technology could be used as a tool to cast doubt and make people not know what to believe. So have you ever come across a video or a clip that's made you question its authenticity? found out later it wasn't real? I'm sure you probably have, but I'm just curious if anyone has any examples or if y'all do.
I'm sorry. Can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, like have you ever come across a video or a clip that makes you question its authenticity? Like have you found a video that seems like a deep fake or the opposite? You know,
I don't know if anybody. Well, I feel like we're all around the same age, and we all know who Corey Kenshin is. I think that's how you pronounce it, Corey Kenshin. He definitely has been like in and out, so that would be my example. Yeah,
awesome.
I think
guess
the
while
other-
everyone else is
you're
Oh,
muted.
I think the other day we mentioned seeing Tom Cruise deepfakes, and that deepfake was saying some really weird stuff, but it looked realistic. Is that right, guys? Who saw it? Who here?
I did. So I'm sorry. There was this guy that was on TikTok and he was pretending to be Tom Cruise. It was literally like the account name is Deep Tom Cruise. So he used like AI and all this stuff. And so he was doing like magic tricks and telling jokes. And then he was like playing the guitar. I was like, this matters because most people watched it and shared the video of him. And some didn't even realize that like that wasn't actually Tom Cruise. Like people were just like second guessing, like Tom Cruise, like what are you doing here? So I don't know. I definitely feel like the world of AI is getting crazy and of how people can like generate things like that to like look like someone. So yeah.
Going along with that, there's also on TikTok there's Drake songs, which Drake has obviously not produced, but it's their I don't know if they're called voiceovers or redos, but it's just a bunch of Drake stuff that he has yet to make or haven't made at all. And that's not only taking, I don't know if people who like Drake this much, but if you really care, that's taking away from his platform and also making him lose a lot of money because he's not getting any of those like endorsements that he normally would get from his actual stuff. And it's causing him to have like a fake identity of some sort because he has like there's TikTok Drake and then there's the real Drake who actually makes music.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know about that.
Angie said in the comment, she said, I didn't know what about Tom Cruise makes him different, but he definitely has a deep fake able face and used to fall for those videos so much that now I'm automatically skeptical of any video with him in it. No, yeah, once I saw that, I went back to TikTok and I was like, hello, but I definitely see why his face is common. And then Ariana said there has been a lot of ads on YouTube recently where they'll have celebrities voice deep faked over some kind of scam. There was going on around the Taylor Swift saying she could provide viewers with a government COVID check. Yes, scams is definitely something that Ethan's about to get into.
right. Before I get into that, I'd like to go a little bit more into the study, how it prompts us to be skeptical in the end of all media, but primarily deep fakes. And so people who are skeptical tend to double check their sources, as we all know, and look beyond the surface, but not all of us do. For many, social media is just the main source of news. But what's concerning about these deep fakes is that even the professionals are struggling to be able to tell what's real and fake. So I'd like to quickly ask this question. Do you think AI deepfakes will reach a point where fact checking becomes nearly impossible? And if so, how do we adapt? Where
Yes.
reality itself could be faked.
Sorry, Jerry, then Aiden, and then me.
Yes, I believe that later is it's gonna be hard to tell because you know how right now I'm sorry, but AI is getting better and better to fake news or fake people. Now you can literally pull a picture of somebody and just spread it around, and that person will never know it. No, if somebody that don't know that person be like, yeah, that's her, but like she have no idea that somebody took her face and put it in a different body, and and that happening a lot, especially like young people, like they're like schools now. A lot of people getting bullied, or a lot of people getting silent bullied because they start putting people faces and and then just spread around schools, and then that will scar them because like they they didn't get their permission, but they still do it because AI is advancing so quick.
I think like AI is gonna get to a point where like it's hard to tell from reality, because already like it's only been like what I think 2 years. Well, I mean, the first time I've like ever heard of a deep fake was like 2 years ago, and AI has like changed so much during then, just because it's like it's used a lot more and it's gotten a lot more realistic. Like back in 2023, the biggest example that I can think of is of a deep fake is that one video of Will Smith eating spaghetti. But after that, it's like it's crazy how much it has changed, and I really think it'll get to a point where it'll be hard to tell like what's real and what's not.
Yeah, I'm with Aiden. I think what's interesting is that as it progresses, especially video, I think right now we often think about the text and the images, but I think it's the video and the audio, like the audio voice, that I think potentially is the scariest. And so the first deep fake that I remember being like, huh, that's so fascinating. And this was before the launch of OpenAI 2 years ago. It was the former president, Barack Obama. And I don't even remember what the clip was, but it was like him and his voice, but it wasn't him or his voice. And I remember thinking, we're in a slippery terrain right now. And recently I've been reading about political elections around the globe. And there was a recent small, like basically municipal election in India where the person who was campaigning actually was using his deceased father as the primary campaigner for his campaign. Let me just say that again. His deceased father, who was a very well-known politician in that area, became the primary person campaigning for his political campaign. So basically what they had done is they had, recreated him using various AI technologies. His voice was the same, his video looked the same. When you look at this, it's like obviously people know he's not even real, and they're still using it for political influence. And so think about all the different ways that we can see deep fakes being used to shape politics or culture or entertainment, even the economy. I think is potential. So the question I want to pose to your team is, what do we do about this? Like, how do we teach people? Because one thing is that I want students to come out of this class kind of being like, I have tools to do this. And like fact checking is definitely one, but what else? Because I think it's becoming so much harder. Every semester I think, oh gosh, we're like hitting new terrain. So how do we figure this out? What kind of tools and resources do we have to help figure this out?
I feel like for me personally, with the deepfakes, I do have a sister, and she's in elementary school. Not elementary school. She's in middle school. I'm a bad brother. She's in middle school right now, and they just recently had like, well, to answer your question, I feel like we definitely should have limitations to certain things, because in her school right now, they have phones, and the kids are making images of like, I don't know if you guys know about the Ghibli trend, or like there's the Ghibli, then there's like Ponyo, then there's there's a bunch of trends where you just like recreate yourself in an avatar, and then these kids are doing this in the middle school, and instead of learning and listening, they're on their phones making images all day, and it's just like, and then their teachers are having the parents come by and be like, hey, this is not okay, da, 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 da. You can't do this and that. And then the parents are just like, they're just making art. And at the same time, you shouldn't be doing this in class, but we have come to an age where it's accepted. Because I would remember in my middle school, even like looking away from the teacher it would be crazy just looking away from the teacher, not listening. But now you're able to be on your phone and you're able to quickly make a deep fake, or you're able to quickly make another image. And then who knows how far that will go into the future where anything could happen.
Yeah, it's even
Yeah,
gone into scam
sorry.
calls. Aiden, you go first, and then I'll go into my short story.
Okay, I'll be quick. I do have something to say about the Ghibli thing. Actually, like for our SJMC trip, Angie and I literally just did this. And what's interesting about that is like, well, it didn't exactly like capture everyone's faces accurately, and one person was even like edited out for some reason. Like, I don't know what's the deal
For
with
some
that.
reason, for context, the person that was edited out was like the one black person in the group. I mean,
Thank you, Angie.
Studio
That's how
Ghibli.
we need to be really clear about that, because that's exactly what was happening with facial recognition software when it was first released. Angie. No, more Angie.
No, that's exactly what it is. Like I mean, the one black person in the group was completely edited out, and then everyone else's skin tone was completely whitewashed, which makes sense. Studio Ghibli is an Asian based corporation. However, this is something that needs to be acknowledged when it comes to AI. And I think algorithms, during the algorithmic live stream, there was some biases and prejudices that were brought up, some trends that minorities are least likely to get pushed by the algorithm. So these are definitely things that we need to keep in mind, not just with algorithmic, selection, but also with deepfakes and AIs, that there is some, I guess, I don't want to say racism, but just minorities may not be getting this, it may be harmful towards minorities. And that's something that we need to keep in mind when we approach deepfakes and AI in the future.
I am mindful that your show ends in like 4 minutes and you still have stuff to do. So Angie and I are not going to talk, and we're going to let you just finish it up. And if you need to be a couple minutes over, that's okay.
Okay, with the scam story, I want to briefly introduce how these are brought about. So everyone, we've all heard how AI could replicate pretty much anybody's voices, but now it's being used to replicate voices of like family members or loved ones in the form of scams. And these are known as imposter scams. So earlier last month, Marilyn Crawford, a grandmother, was targeted by a deepfake voice scam who was masked as her grandson Ian. And so one evening, she woke up to a phone call, and on the other line was Ian, desperate, asking for $9,000 to post a bail after being arrested for stealing a car. And the urgency in his voice made her heart race, and the details seemed so convincing. She never experienced, or she never expected this out of Ian, but the panic in his tone was enough to cloud her judgment. So she ended up sending the money anyways. And as you can guess, it was not her grandson on the line. Rather, it was AI who ended up getting his voice from Instagram. So initially, whenever I first read this article, it struck me how vulnerable we could all be, especially older people, which seem to be at the target of this. After doing some digging, I found on the National Council of Aging that seniors have lost more than 3.4 billion in fraud in just 2023. So given this, what is it about seniors that make them the prime suspect? Not suspect, the prime target, sorry. Is it the vulnerability, or do scammers understand something deeper? So I'm gonna let that question sit. I wanna pass it real quick to, I'll be passing it to Jerry real quick, sorry.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna talk about something that I personally enjoy. I know we're talking about this the all the show, how especially like people use the fake news for like presidential elections and all that. Like people saying that they were stealing, that Trump people was telling everybody that they were stealing his votes, so that why he lost in 2020. and and then that's bad because they can rise regarding potential weapons, technology, fair elections, and fear violence. A lot of people are really into politics, like I am, and it's not good. Like I said earlier, not good to tell people stuff because you got people that will believe everything, and then they will use that to um, fear or to use violence against other people that don't support their party. Because you got a lot of people that are reading to Republicans, a lot of people that are reading to Democrats, and you shouldn't spread rumors or tell stories about how the government is bad or how the presidential gonna make everybody worse because it can cause chaos and can cause World War III, can cause violence and people literally kill each other. So because they believe what other people saying. So do you ever go to the social media and see people saying stuff that's out of
Lisette brought up a good example in the comments, and she said the first deepfake I saw was when Jordan Peele was using Obama's voice and image. That I think was like 5 years ago. That was an example that I had. So in 2020, a deepfake video surfaced where Obama like appeared to call President Trump names, but it was actually like a PSA created by Jordan Peele to warn people about the dangers of deepfakes. So I mean, like we were saying, like getting into political aspects is just a hard time. So, I mean, and just to be fake by fans, like Jerry was saying earlier, is just to choose like the party, especially to have that going back and forth. And then another one an example that I found was during the Ukraine war. Like the Ukraine president, he appeared online telling soldiers to like surrender to Russia, which I think was crazy because definitely disinformation during war is definitely like a hard time. It just confuses everything. So yeah. And now I'm gonna send it to Juan to wrap it up.
Alrighty, guys. So after everything today, Instagram and most social platforms are, as we know, built for entertainment, not fact checking. We're always continuously scrolling, liking, sharing, and sometimes we believe the things that we scroll, like, and share, and we also shouldn't at the same time. In today's world, in today's world, we have a very AI, not even just today and from the future, we have a very AI related lifestyle now, with everything being either fake or untrue. So I want to ask you, and I want you to learn from this as well. What I have the question right here. So sorry. What will you do from today? What will you do from today to learn about how to avoid deep fakes and AI? Or do I put that as a question?
I don't think we have time. maybe we can get one or two people from the team to answer, and then we'll just finish it up.
Yeah,
I guess the best thing to do is just I don't know, just try to like educate yourself, pay attention to specific like details in a deepfake. There may be some parts of the image that look unnatural, like maybe the hands look off, or maybe it just has like this weird glossy effect or something. And like I think you should definitely like pay attention to what happens just in the deepfake, just to like tell what's just to like make sure it's real or not.
I think we almost all need like a little quiz or deep fake class so that we can start figuring it all out. The other thing that I read this week, there was this new Psychology Today article on misinformation this week, and it said most people's default is to correct. And I know I do this with my parents. Like my default is to go try to correct them, but they actually said that using frames or like a structure called bypassing is actually really a smart way to do it. Let me see if I can get it here. I'll post it in the chat for you so you can see what it is. But basically, it's like the misinformation might be aluminum in vaccine causes bone problems, but the correlation is there is no evidence that levels in aluminum in vaccine. But if you bypass it, you say the aluminum vaccines makes vaccines more effective. So you actually almost frame it more positively. So I think, we need ways to figure out the visuals and the video. And I think that's like classes, quizzes, something. And then B, another way to communicate with people. And I think bypassing might be that answer of reframing it in a positive. Thank you so much to this team. You did such an exceptional job, and we're so very proud of you. And what a great conversation. A little more political than normal, but I would expect nothing less from this team. And I'm so happy for the conversation we just had today. Angie?
I completely agree. I feel like I learned so much, and this was like great discussion, great articles, great points. I feel like what you said, Nicole, like there's a lot of deep introspection. Something that Juan, you said at the very beginning of the live stream was that people just like to be right. And then when you said that, my first thought was like, but have you ever been right? It just feels so good. You know what I mean? Like I totally get it. And so there's something like that you have to change with yourself. Like Nicole, you need to work to reframe. Like Aiden, you need to work to educate. And then again, just work to I guess combat the damage that deepfakes and deception with social media can cause.
Thank you, Angie. And thank you to this amazing team. Round of applause. I'm going to save my end of class announcements because I realize we're already over. I'll put another announcement up this week. Congratulations. We are so very proud of you. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and look for a second announcement from me. Bye, everyone.
Hey,